Are you enjoying your performance? I ask this question because everybody is performing. Everybody every day is putting on their own show. But do you like the show that you're putting on, right? Being performative is something that's been thrown around a lot recently when it comes to talking about. It's essentially another word for masking, right? Um, and if you're in a space like I am, I love fashion, performative fashion, matcha boy, performative oral farming, nonchalant redhead hooper. There's so many brain rot terminologies that I could talk about. Um, but you know, ultimately, it's just another term for masking. You're putting on a mask. You're putting on an act to adhere to a certain group, a demographic, and you know, you're hiding the parts of you that they might not like, right? That they don't really associate with, right? You have to be mysterious. You gotta be this. You gotta be that. You can't be too excited about something, and it's unfortunate. And I was somebody, in more recent years when I got to college that I started to perform a lot. I started to mask a lot, um, and it is incredibly draining once you realize it. It's incredibly draining because you're not being yourself. You're putting on an act and you're not enjoying it. There was times where I found myself speaking about something I was passionate about, and the people I was around didn't care. Like they just did not care. They cared more about acting a certain way than listening to what I was passionate about. Or, I would talk about my emotions or my feelings to someone and they'd just be like, "Yeah, bro, it's whatever." Like, I'm sorry that I have these feelings and that I'm geeking about things that I love. That's just how I'm going to do it. And unfortunately, a lot of people, they just out of fear of not fitting in, they don't geek out about things. There's not enough cringe anymore, right? There's not enough like stupid rants about how much you love this and that. There's just people who just care about what some dude sipping a matcha latte thinks about. And it's crazy. And it's not even with the youth. Before my mom passed away, I had a couple of conversations with her. She was somebody who masked a lot, right? She had a lot of mental health issues. Um, and she put on a mask almost every day, right? She had to. She was struggling with stomach cancer. She was struggling with depression. She was bipolar. She had a lot of things going on with herself. And every day she was exhausted. And I remember, her telling me and my brother, like, "I'm tired. I don't want to put on a mask in front of the family. I don't want to do this." And I think about her. I think about the fact that she lived her life like that for a very long time. And it's suffering. You suffer and you just have to do it because you're afraid of how people react. She was afraid how we would perceive her, right? She wanted to be perceived as a strong woman, and she was a strong woman, right? Don't fall to her at all. But she was afraid to be weak, right? People are afraid to show any sign of weakness, any sign that they won't be accepted, right? And it's so unfortunate. It is so unfortunate. And I've done it myself, right? I have stressed myself thin to the point where I just couldn't do it. I cracked, I broke. And for me, it took a major shift in my life to stop, to say, I'm done. I'm no longer going to be performative. I'm no longer aura farm. I'm no longer putting on this mask for people because I don't see myself anymore. I don't see the kid in the mirror anymore. I don't see, because I was a happy kid, right? I don't see him anymore. For me, my mom would want to see that kid. She would want to see me smiling, making music, trying new things, being curious, and talking to people, asking people questions, you know. And it's never too late to flip the switch, right? It's never too late to stop masking, and it takes a while. There's gonna be times where you find yourself doing it. Um, but just being yourself more feels a lot better, right? Instead of just brushing off things and being like, "Oh, that's performative," talk to me why you like that thing. Tell me how it makes you feel, right? Don't shy away, right? Stop caring about how others feel about your performance and start caring about how you feel about your performance. Because in reality, that's all that matters, right? At the end of the day, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. And, shouldn't let others, bog you down and stunt your shining, as Steve Lacy would say. And just be yourself, Stop putting up that wall.